there'll be more ridiculous announcements coming. One of the ones that was a more ridiculous announcement yesterday was that there was a new crime introduced to the migrant situation. Basically, there's a new crime of endangering lives if you're bringing people over on small boats. Of course, what they haven't taken into account, really, is the fact that the people who are bringing the people over in small boats are already committing crime and they're already creating more and more criminal activity. Basically, illegal migrants crossing the Channel will now face up to 5 years in jail if, amongst other things, they refuse to be rescued. Well, we have the other story this morning as well about Tunisia. We're giving Tunisia £5 million to teach people English so that when they learn English, they won't want to come here. I don't know what that would, what effect that would have. Peter in Solihull says, morning, Mike. Instead of teaching English to the Tunisians, the way things are going, it would make more sense to teach Tunisian to the English. Let's talk to Rear Admiral Chris Parry, former NATO commander, to get his view. Chris, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
I don't really quite understand governments in this country who think that they can control criminality by passing more laws to the people who already break those laws that they've got already.
Yeah, I mean, this latest version is sort of tinkering around the edges. There's no real coherent strategy in any of this. And it's rather like trying to apply sticking plaster to a gaping wound.
Yeah.
I mean, the issue is there are so many loopholes in even this legislation. For example, if you claim you've been trafficked as part of modern slavery, then you're going to be allowed in.
Right.
And the fact of life is, until you actually apply a rule that says that you hit the users, not the traffickers. In other words, if you cross the border, then you're committing an offence. Whatever the reason, you're never going to stop this. You have to say to people, look, if you want to claim asylum, you claim asylum on the French side.
Yeah.
If you want to say you want to come to Britain, then go through the normal channels. The fact of life is, if you try to penetrate the border at Heathrow, you're committing an offence.
Yeah.
Why isn't it sea? It's ridiculous.
I know. Although the last time I came into Heathrow, I saw a sign that said that if you wanted to claim asylum, this is what you have to do on arrival. So, I mean, I don't know if they've changed the rules on that, because it was the first time I'd seen that sort of sign. I think I saw it sort of middle of last year when I was coming back from somewhere. And I don't, you can't really have much hope that the Home Office will get any of this stuff right, knowing what we now know about them, where they sit around mostly, coming up with reasons to blame the far right for everything.
Well, I think there's more serious worry in the Home Office. I mean, there are signs of quite clear activism and subversion of our processes. Yeah. And until, I'm afraid, our bureaucrats cease to actually think that their personal views are more important than the public service, we're always going to have a very leaky sieve as far as that sort of thing is concerned. And my own view is we need a full inquiry, independent inquiry into how the Home Office operates. Yeah. It's it hasn't been fit for purpose for probably 20 years.
No, exactly right. And when you watch what they're doing in America, when you see the way they're handling the migrants there, it's very clear that it can be done. I know that we're not the same country and that presidents and prime ministers don't have the same powers and all of that, but I was very refreshed to see the new press secretary, who's a young woman, she's only 27 years of age, basically saying, when she was asked by the lefty journalists, well, how do you know these people are criminals that you're deporting and how many of them are criminals? She went, well, they're all criminals because they've all come into the country illegally, therefore they're criminals, which I think is right.
Mike, you've got a party that's got a 150 seat majority. They can introduce any law they like to stop migrants coming across the channel. They could even introduce a rule saying the colour of the sky above the clouds is green, not blue, if they wanted to. They have it in their power to do this. But I'm afraid to say they're captive to so many different lobbies that they don't have the political will or courage to take action.
Yeah. And what about this law of the sea thing? I mean, you're a man of the ocean waves, you know about these things. I mean, endangering lives at sea is now going to be a new criminal offence. But there's also this thing, is there not, where you are sort of duty-bound to rescue people if they appear to be in difficulties?
Yeah, that's absolutely true, Mike, under a thing called the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea and also the Safety of Life at Sea legislation. But here's the clear thing, and I've said this for many years now, you simply have to take people to a place of safety. It doesn't say you have to take them to the United Kingdom. Right. And so, there's all sorts of interpretations that you can put on that. I mean, the fact of life is human rights legislation at the moment, particularly with this government, trumps all sorts of other legislation. And until we actually get out of this bind, we're not going to be able to stop paying the lawyers these inflated sums. And secondly, not going to be able to enforce our border legislation.
No, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's not looking like it's getting any better anytime soon. Rear Admiral Chris Parry, great to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Former NATO commander, man that talks an awful lot of common sense, by the way. Morning, Mike, says Phil. I think you'll find that Sakir has said he would smash the smuggling gangs, not the smuggling gangs. He'd be hard-pressed to find a smuggling gang these days, so he's achieved his goal. People so underestimate Sakir. Shall we have a listen?
To smash the people smuggling gangs.
Smash the people smuggling guns. I mean, how useless does this guy have to be? Let's get a call. John is in Dorset. Hello, John.
Oh, good morning, Mike.
Morning, sir. What can I do for you?
Basically, I was telling your producer that I'm a volunteer digital champion. We work in the libraries helping people to get digital access. There are about 30 or 40 in Dorset, and most counties have got volunteers doing the same thing.
Right.
I took an interest in claiming pension credit because it was quite simple. It looks awful, but if you know your way around forms and stuff, it's quite simple. So now, if people come with the right information, and I print out the requirements from the YouGov or gov.uk website, I can process a claim in about 15 minutes. Because I'm used to going down. I don't go all up and down the you know, if the answer to 7 is yes, go to 10. Right. Now, apparently Rachel Reeves was going to save 1.4 billion by cutting the winter fuel. I read an article 2 days ago that all the people on pension credit now are costing them 8.6 billion.
Really? Then that's interesting.
So she must have got her economics degree from the School of the Abacus.
Exactly right. Well, this is the other thing, because I mean, immediately they announced it was going to make them 1.4 billion. They then declared that because of the people who are going to be affected, who shouldn't have been affected, they were going to give another 400,000 or 400 million rather back to the local authorities in order to kind of take care of the shortfall, if you like. So it was already reduced down to 1 billion. And so, as you say, if it's now costing another 8 billion to supply people with pension credit, then it's a completely ridiculous tax. And the same goes for the VAT on schools tax. You know, they're not going to get the amount of money they thought they were going to get. The same as the farmers. They're going to get 500 million, they say, from the farmers. Well, that's not going to happen. And even if it does happen, it'll probably be 200 million.
If the man in the posh wellies had read his own DEFRA report on the 16th of September last year, he would have found that the number of farmers affected is significantly higher.
Exactly.
Apparently 54% of farms are owner-occupied, 21% are joint tenancies. And with the big landowners, if they've got a tenancy, they'll kick the tenant into touch rather than lose the tax.
Yeah, of course. Exactly right. And so people will fight it. People will fight it. We're run by complete and utter charlatans and idiots.
Led by lunatics.
Yeah, totally true.
Built
Great
by
call.
Karl Marx.
Yeah, John, thank you very much indeed. Fantastic. How about this from Keith in Durham? Morning, Mike. It's 5 years today since we left the EU. I voted to leave, but we have not got control of our borders, our waters, our own laws. Starmer is even now colluding to take us closer to the EU. And Mike in South East London says this. This is good. Working 6 years with Rachel from accounts would seem like 10 years. Absolutely right. Let's get a voice note from Kim on shale gas.
Good morning, Mike. Kim from near Bristol here. This business of filling up the shale wells that we haven't even used, surely this is just a massive act of self-harm. I get that some people are dead against it, but surely even they can see that it would be sensible and intelligent to leave the wells as they are in case we need them in the future. If we don't, we are fools. The rest of the world is moving on and we're sitting here self-flagellating and nobody cares. Our virtual signals will not pay the bills. Keep going, Mike. We need more of you.
Kim, thank you very much indeed. It's absolutely right. Peter Hitchens talks about this as well, because we've had in the past the decommissioning of various different power stations, coal-fired power stations, which we don't want anymore because it's too dangerous for the environment, right? But as Peter Hitchens has pointed out, instead of just shutting it down and leaving it, they destroy it. They blow it up. They basically put explosives everywhere, every single part of the power station, and blow the hell out of it, so that nobody could ever go back and use it again. And with the shale gas wells, it makes surely loads and loads of sense, considering that Quadrilla have spent quite a bit of money actually getting the wells working and getting the wells down to the depths that they needed to get them to, making sure that the process was clean, making sure that the process was safe. They did all that, and now the government says you've got to fill them in. Just in case anybody tries to use them. It's unbelievable, isn't it? How about this from Ali? My doctor's surgery have adopted what they call the triage appointment system. You have to go online and fill in a form to give your reasons for requesting an appointment to see a doctor. Your application form will then be triaged by someone within the practice, and if an acceptable reason is found in your application, you will then be sent a link to your smartphone. When you receive the link, you can then telephone and wait in the queue, as it were, to try and make an appointment from those that have been released for that particular time period. This is hardly a user-friendly system for pensioners, or indeed anyone else. So what happens if you ring up and you haven't been triaged? Do they just refuse to answer? Do they tell you you have to get into another queue? It's ridiculous, isn't it? These people, they come up with all these new-fangled ways of doing things which turn out to be worse than the way they used to do them. How do they manage that? It's quite extraordinary. I had a letter from the tax